This week on What's Your Story, we feature Wakonyo Igeria, a law graduate from the University of Dar es Salaam and an advocate admitted to the bar in 1991. She's a commissioner of oaths and a notary public. She's also a governance auditor, a certified professional coach, a certified professional mediator, MTI accredited, and a certified mediation trainer, MTI accredited. Wakonyo's legal career spans 10 years in legal practice, encompassing civil litigation, commercial and conveyancing engagements, 4 years in the power sector, and 20 years in the banking industry. On What's Your Story, everyone has a story. Good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of What's Your Story. I am gratified that you made the time midweek tonight on KTN Home to yet again be inspired, empowered, and elevated. My guest tonight is no stranger, at least to me, and to the thousands watching. She is a kite flyer, at least she describes herself like that. That's her personal mission statement. She is also a mentor with Grow House Foundation. She'll be telling us more about it. But for those of us who know her, we call her Waki. But you who's getting to know her tonight, her name is Wakonyo Igeria. Most welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You look radiant in purple.
Thank you.
People
So
need
do
to know we didn't plan.
So do you.
Thank you.
Looking lovely as usual.
You see, I needed to open this. I haven't done this before ever because, I mean, look, your professional experience needs to be read. I cannot flounder on it. I just said you're a mentor and you're a kite flyer, but people need to know, and here we go. She's, first of all, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, so Miss Lawyer, okay? She's a commissioner of oaths and a notary public. You'll tell us what that is. A governance auditor, a certified professional coach, ICF accredited, a certified professional mediator, MTI accredited, a certified mediation trainer, and she also held the position of company secretary and head of legal services at the Consolidated Bank of Kenya just until a few months ago. So maybe with you, Waki, it's easier to say, what haven't you done? What, like, because lawyer, mentor, certified. What haven't you done?
I haven't flown a plane, but I plan to.
Oh, okay, is that a joke?
No, watch the space.
Oh, that reminds me. She's also the founder and creative director of Waki Space, her storytelling platform. I mean, look at you. Over and above everything I've read, there's something else Waki's birthing that I think is really exciting for the people in this nation. But I'm so glad you came, Waki. You're such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful spirit.
Thank you.
And please, this is not the platform to be shy. Yeah, we are very loud usually, and we're always laughing. So let's not be, I don't know what. Where do we start with you? First of all, let's go maybe to your career, like law. Yeah. Why was that attractive for you growing up?
As a young person, I didn't plan to be a lawyer.
Okay.
In the very beginning.
Yes.
I wanted to be an actress. Yeah, I surprised myself as well. However, my mom once said something, and I've never forgotten. She says, Waki, you will either be a pastor or a lawyer.
Okay.
And at the time, I'm like, none of those. But I realized, as I was growing up, that I was always fighting for people's rights.
Oh.
If I saw something going wrong,
Yeah.
I was on the forefront.
Defender.
It would cost me sometimes. In class, I'm the one fighting for every child.
Hey.
And as I finished, I remember thinking, so I need a platform to be able to do this. So my dad, one of my greatest cheerleaders, one day said, you want a platform to fight for people, just become a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
And that was a seed that dropped in my spirit.
Yes.
And I went to school, became a lawyer.
Yes.
And I've been a lawyer for the last 32 years. And I actually have enjoyed that career completely.
Yes.
I would tell my children, I feel like I'm being paid to have fun. Then I became a governance auditor and just falling in love with what governance looks like. What's going wrong in this company? It's always about governance. What's going wrong in this institution? It's always about governance. And up to the last day when I said it's time to hang up those titles,
Yes.
I have loved it completely and will continue doing it because there's nothing really like retiring. It's like refiring into another season.
And we'll come to the retiring bit.
Yes.
Because you recently retired. Before time, actually.
Yes.
Yes. So, I mean, like, who does that? But we'll come there. So your mom was right then.
Yes.
Looking back,
Yes.
you became the lawyer. But you know, you're also like a pastor, like the way you minister to people, the way you mentor people, you build people, you're a nurturer, you know. So so it's not the pastor that in this country, it's not that like, you know, standing on the pulpit to preach, etc., and whatever else comes with that. But you actually just pour yourself into people. I've seen that with you, at least the few years I've known you. So somehow you've, even actress, Waki space on Instagram. Just go see the things she does there, and your entire look, your eyewear. I'm like, how many, you know, glasses does Waki have?
Accessories.
So, yeah, accessories. The lawyer has corrected me on my show. I mean, like you're doing everything you've always wanted to do, I think.
It's exciting to say that coming full circle to where I am now, I realize that every experience I have has been a sum total. I remember once an intern walking into my office and saying, Mrs. Igeria, when I grow up, I want to be like you. And I looked at her and I said, what about me do you want to be like? And she said, you're upbeat, you're happy, you're excited. She didn't have my full story. She didn't know there were seasons in my life where I was like, what? Will I manage? Will I go through this? But recognizing early enough that every difficult situation I have gone through has been to build me, has been to grow me. And I've gone through enough. There are days I'll be like, oh, Lord, please. It's time, take me home. I'm so tired. But God was always like, everything that you've gone through is for a reason. So coming to this point in my life where I look back and I say, wow, I understand what that meant. I understand when I was retrenched 20 years ago. I understand, actually it's 24 years ago. I understood what that meant. I understood what it meant to be afraid, to be frightened. I understood what it meant to raise children, and I'm holding them in my lap, I'm in charge, and then suddenly they're teenagers, and our thinking is on divergences. And I'm thinking, okay, who are you? You're my child, but how come we're thinking differently? I now understand that every season has been to build me. The reason I say I'm a kite flyer is because I want to fly kites. I want every person who interacts or engages with me, I want to see if there's a way I can make you better. Because as I make people better, girl, I am growing. I never take anything for granted. People think that because I am older, I have all the wisdom. The things I have learned from my daughter, the things I have learned from my son, up to date. My son called me just before I got here, and he said something, I'm like, wow, you know, the word you need to hear. So I keep telling people, never stop learning. Old is wisdom if you allow it to be. Old can also be foolishness. And I keep reminding myself that. So getting here has been the journey, and it continues to be a journey. It doesn't stop. Flying planes, when you hear me, this is your Captain Wakonyo speaking. Don't be surprised.
So you see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you have so much life in you that even people watching, hearing you say, there are days you didn't want to wake up, there are days you wanted to say, like, God, like, I'm ready to come home, can we do that now? And someone's like, how? Like, how? So are you okay sharing what some of those dark seasons were and how you overcame? I can just give 2 or 3 examples.
I will. The first one was a knee replacement surgery. So what most people don't know is that in my right knee, most of my right knee is metal. So we used to have a joke.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, girl, 2017, I was in Hyderabad, India, lying on a hospital bed to have my knee replaced. And the reason being, I hadn't taken care of my body. I was 120 kilos, and my knees were giving way. And I saw lots of doctors who told me you need to lose weight. And every doctor who told me I needed to lose weight, I walked on swiftly saying, I didn't come there to be told that. I've come so that you can tell me why my knee is hurting. And then I went, you know, at some point I realized I had to go to India to have the knee replaced. And on that journey, I realized the reason why I was so overweight was because my way of dealing with a recent separation and divorce was eating my way through. And every time I speak to people, I say, please understand what your triggers are when you're in a dangerous place.
Tell them.
Because at the end of the day, all of us have got triggers, and all of us will take ourselves into a dangerous place. It could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be food. And the same way that someone is abusing alcohol, I abused food. And by the time I got to, you know, by the time I was liaising with the doctor in India, and he's looking at my reports and saying, we can't operate until you've lost weight because the operation will not, you know, it won't work for you. And I'm thinking, even these Indians are talking about me losing weight. But it made me understand that I really had to change my life, and losing weight, and I say this to especially women, it doesn't start in the gym and on the plate, it starts over here.
Oh.
You need to be able to understand why you're doing that. You need to understand why do you want to be better. And it hit me. I feel like I have so much to give this world. I have to do it in a healthy body. Recognizing that I wanted to live a healthier life.
Yeah.
One day I was walking upstairs with my CEO then, and walking up the stairs, I realized he kept slowing down as he was walking up. He wasn't saying anything, but I could tell he was feeling for me and realizing we can't walk up fast these stairs because Wakonyo can't walk fast.
Wow.
And I realized for me to live the best authentic life, a healthy life, be there for my children and my grandchildren, I hope my children are listening, my grandchildren to come. I want to be able to be fit and energetic. I want to do stuff, but are you doing it in a healthy body? Are you doing it with a healthy mind?
Yeah.
And those are the things that began to work through me. So by the time I came from India,
Yeah.
I came here ready to heal. I remember my doctor here in Kenya saying, you know, I wish all the patients who've gone through what you've gone through, I wish you could come and speak to them, because look at you, you're walking, you're not on crutches anymore.
Yeah.
Some people thought I'd be on crutches for life. I'm like, I'm getting rid of these crutches because I want to live. And I kept thinking, okay, you know, God, why do I have to have this for life? And I realized it's a reminder of the journey you've traveled. So I tell people that thing that you can't get out of your system because it talks about your hard seasons, let it be a reminder of where you've come through and where you can go. It shouldn't hinder you, it should build you.
So you were 120
Yes.
kgs.
Yeah, let's be clear. Yeah.
These lawyers on the set today. Okay, 120, you had to lose weight, but it wasn't just about, you know, people now are like, yeah, I'm doing intermittent fasting. Hello, Millicent. Intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
I'm not eating, I don't know until what time. And you start and you renege. You start and you renege. The thing that with you has just like hit me is you decided I have so much more to give to the world, to me, to my children. And so it was like a whole new life, eh?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, whole new life.
Yeah, yeah.
And so how did you manage that discipline, especially with the food, because you understood food is your trigger?
You know, the amazing thing is, and I'm happy you said that you understood food is your trigger.
Yeah.
Even today, if I mess up with food,
Yeah.
I will fly back to what I was. So I'm cognizant of the fact that this is what can destroy me. Then I tell everyone, choose what works for you. You know, this life is not supposed to be for suffering of food. You see, I mean, I'm sure there's a reason. There's a specific reason why God allowed apple pies in the world.
And nyamachoma.
And nyamachoba, you know? And I really love to have my piece. And carrot cake, which is full of sugar. And we just feel healthy because we say it's carrot, but there's a lot of sugar. But there's a reason why God allowed these things.
Yes.
And I'm quite happy to enjoy them. But I know that I do it in moderation. I know that I do it, you know, I treat myself to these things. I mean, I've lived, I've served. I should treat myself to some of these things. So I'm excited about it.
Yes.
Then understanding what works for you in exercise.
Yes.
Now, I used to say I'm allergic to the gym. Because I would go to the gym and I stand on I walk on a treadmill, and then some fit person comes to the next treadmill, runs, and it looks like I'm running backwards. And I'm like, why would I bring myself into this level of pain? Until I began to tell myself, my journey is my journey.
Right.
In the gym, my journey is my journey.
Yeah.
And I get there, I'm like, you can be running, even you can run off the treadmill into the sky. I will do what I need to be doing. And I began to embrace that journey and work with people who, you know how people say, you know, give me 10, 20, what are these things called where people bend? No, there's another one, squats.
Squats, hey.
Now, if I do squats, the metal of my knee will fly out. So I know I can't do squats. But I know that there's something for me to do.
Right.
And that's what I embrace. And I go in there. And when I get into that gym, I know that I'm going in there because it's making me better. In the beginning, walking there, I would get there, I park my car and ask myself, now, you brought yourself here.
Yeah.
And isitoshe, that's Greek for. And if that's not enough, you even paid to bring yourself here.
Yeah.
But you know, the more you make it a habit and you begin to realize it's a lifestyle and you begin to realize what it's doing for you, it becomes something that you can't do without, and it becomes something you look forward to.
Yeah.
I challenge people and ask them, do you wake up in the morning and think, should I take a shower today? Should I brush my teeth today? There's some things that are, taking care of your human body is taking care of your mind. What are your non-negotiables in your life? And I tell you, once you understand those things, no one needs to tell you.
No. To get to that state of nirvana, because really that's what it is, there has to be a huge, solid component of self-love.
Absolutely.
So speak to us about the place of self-love and self-care. What you had to do for you to get here.
Wow. Self-love and self-care. I'll start with saying this. When things were really difficult for me, and I say this without fear of contradiction, I needed to see a therapist, you know, a clinical psychologist. Because, you know, we have been told that by the time you go to see a therapist, you know, everything has broken.
Yeah.
You go when you know you need help, when you don't understand what is your thing. So I said, I'm going to walk in. Actually, let me tell the truth. My friend instructed me to go and see one.
Okay.
So I said, I'm going to tick a box. Jerry, you can hear. I'm going to tick a box so that she stops telling me to go and see a therapist.
Right.
And the day I went to see this therapist, I came out of a board meeting, walked there, paid, walked in, and the first thing that hit me, and this is what I say to people my age, please, don't despise youth. The first thing I thought of is, this young person is the one I've come to tell my problems. I said, anyway, I've paid. What I shall do is I'll just go sit there for the hour and then I will leave. And so I walked in and he said, niceties, how are you, you know? And then I said, he said, so what shall we do today? And I said, you do the thing they taught you how to do at school. I have never forgot it. This is what I said to this young man, who now has become such a great friend. You do that thing they taught you in school, you do it. He was completely unfazed. He began to ask me questions. By question number 3, you know, I remember when I walked in, there was tissue on the table, you know, like Kleenex. And I thought, okay, it's here. It's probably, maybe he has a cold. So that's why the tissues are there. Before I knew it, there was tissue all over the table. And I knew it wasn't his because it had lipstick, mascara. It was me.
You were bawling.
I was bawling. And he asked questions. Because, you see, they're trained to ask you the questions that you need to be asked. And I didn't realize how much I'd been carrying, and I was breaking. And I realized that my life had been almost like controlled. So I left my parents' house to the altar of then, it used to be called Nairobi Pentecostal Church. My father's cover to my husband's cover. I moved on with a controlled environment. And suddenly I was in a season in my life where I was no longer under my dad's cover. I'm no longer in a marriage, and I was spaceless. That's the only way I can describe it. I felt spaceless. Like, I show up every day to work. I do what I need to do because I'm a great professional. I say that without contradiction. I'm excited with what I do, but something was really missing. And that's where Waki space came from, by the way. I began to realize I wanted to understand which is my space. If you remove this title of daughter, sibling, wife, career professional, governance auditor, all these things they're introducing me. If you remove all those things, what's left? Then I'm like, hiya, I saw a kahole and I'm like, hiya, what's there? And I began to go back and say, who is Waki? What makes me tick? This therapist, and the reason I talk about it, he asked me, what do you do for you? I began to list things for him. He says, that's for your parents, okay. Then I say something else, that's for your siblings. Then I say something else, that's for your children. Then he said, what do you do for you? And I'm thinking, see, all those things are for me. He says, no. I don't see you in that. What do you do that you love yourself in completely? And I went back and I sat down and I thought, what do I do to love myself? And I thought, I like nature. I like, you know, going for walks. I'd started the fitness journey. I started hiking. At the age of 55, I started hiking. And my first hike, you know, I went to a place called Garidari where there's a waterfall. I'd never seen anything so beautiful. And I began to weep. Because this was beautiful for me. I sat down and I wept and I said, this is so exciting. And I went home carrying that excitement. And I realized that there's a space where each of us need to find what works for us. Remove the titles. I've had titles for 3 decades.
Major titles.
Exactly. But now the title there, when I sat there in front of that waterfall, was this is Waki's space. This is me. And when I come out having been fed in my own space. Now self-love means a eucalyptus candle with a piece of carrot cake. Self-love means going to have my haircut.
Yes.
In fact, I tell guys, go and enjoy the haircut. I tell ladies, when you're having your nails done, let it be an experience because it's for you. So that now the color of my nails is what I am feeling. You know, what I do now is I realize that even as I'm in the world and serving the world,
Yes.
I have to serve Waki first.
Yes.
So Waki shows up completely full.
My God. And you know, when we're hanging out, I know we need to go to break, but whenever we hang out, and Waki is those girls out, like I rarely, if I want to know something, I'll just find out myself, okay? I don't go asking. But with her, Waki, where do you make your nails? And you know, she referred me to her nail artist, and we stuck with Eunice forever because that uniqueness. Like, Waki, what's on your skin? Why you don't look like you're approaching 60. What are you applying? She's like, just shea butter. Well, which shea butter? It cannot just be shea butter. Waki, where do you get? I mean, she's those women who one would be mistaken to think that, you know, you don't go through those, you know, the things that ordinary people go through. But you've overcome so much. And I hear you about self-love. I hear about Waki Space, self-care. And I need you to give us one more thing that you did to overcome the darkness.
I would think that the one thing that really stands out for me right now,
Yeah.
you know, off the top of my head,
Yes.
is that I learned how to define peace for myself. You see, peace is such a, it's almost like an evasive word. Like, you know, be at peace. What does that even mean? So you come to me, I'm going through a difficult time, and you say, oh, Waki, be at peace.
It is well.
And or you become extremely spiritual and tell me, you know, the peace will surpass all. And I understand it, and I know it, and I believe it. But what does that mean for me in this season? And I realized that for me, peace meant it wasn't going to be the absence of problems. It meant it was going to be that in the present, in the midst of those problems, I'm still going to be able to find joy. Where joy is different from happiness. Happiness is based on happenings.
Yes.
As in, I'm happy because I'm eating my carrot cake. But joy is, what is that thing that is constant in me that will give me peace? And I began to say that I needed to be able to touch peace. And if you learn what peace is for you, then you realize when you're not at peace. There are moments where I will wake up in the morning and I'm feeling something. I can't put my finger on it, but I know there's no peace there. And then I start saying, the reason I'm feeling like this is because I have something ahead of me that's difficult, or something that's challenging, or something that I heard the day before that's concerning me. And then I ask myself, what does peace look like for me in this particular situation? What does peace look like for me when I was leaving the workforce? I had to redefine that for me. What did peace look like without a title? What did peace look like? I think I shared with you how I went for a meeting at a hotel one day, and I don't think I did actually. And I got into the hotel, and I had just left the workforce, and the person at the reception, wonderful person, says, so, oh, you're Wakonyo, are from where? I went blank, because for 32 years, I used to say, I'm from this institution, I am from this place, I am so-and-so, I am so-and-so. And then suddenly I said, and then I smiled, and I looked at him and said, oh, from myself. And he looked at me and said, that's so interesting, what does that mean? I said, yeah, I'm here as myself.
Oh, wow.
And I gave him my card. He says, oh, so you're a certified coach? Yes, but I'm first Waki. And I realized peace for me meant defining what makes me tick in the different seasons and what makes me operate even in the midst of challenge. So peace is not ever going to be the absence of those challenges.
No.
It's going to be what makes me tick, what makes me keep going, what makes me get up in the morning, even when I didn't feel like getting up, how to cover it and tell God it's a good day for the rapture, quickly come. What makes me be able to get up?
Yes, that is so define your peace. So we take a break as you hydrate.
Thank you.
We come back. So Wakonyo is in another season in her life again, and I feel like this is how like her strength and her graces just come with these seasons that come, and she's like, okay, this is a new season, so that she has this heightened self-awareness. And this next part, you're gonna love it, because she chose to retire before time, and that also comes with its own lessons and maybe baggage that people grapple with. So after the break, that's where we go to. So don't go too far.
My last day was all mixed emotions. It was, wow, I'm leaving this behind. And then there was that fear somewhere in my spirit of, so when I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm not an employee. When I was walking out, my daughter says, Mom, I need you to turn around and look at the title on your door. And I need you to know that there's closure. And then she joked and said, yeah, there's closure for you because we get our mom back, you know.
Oh. Welcome back. It's What's Your Story here on KTN Home. And we are so privileged during the break, actually. So Waki was here doing what Waki does, which is just speak to the people on the set who are struggling with weight and struggling with eating 6 chapatis before. And that's my cameraman here, directly OT, before bedtime. And we had this extended commercial break where she was saying many things to us. But we are so glad to have you here, Miss Kite Flyer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lovely to be here.
You have spoken such profound things. If you missed part 1, the show goes up on YouTube after this, so you can catch up with that. Waki, you chose to retire from corporate Kenya, yes. The corporate world. How many years before your actual retirement age?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years before 60.
2 years before 60. So that tells you she's 58.
58.
Yes. So Maweu, our photographer, usually says hello to our guests, okay, when the show is starting, or rather before. And he came and he said, oh, you look so nice. I've never had Maweu tell any guest they look nice, okay? The next thing he did was not believe that she's her age. Yes, of course, how can she be 58? Even I don't believe it. And I know her. But I mean, like, you are radiating life. And I know you know that and you feel that. Well, most days. Why did you choose to retire 2 years before the official retirement age?
You know, I always felt like I had such a great plan for my life. I was going to retire the day I turned 60, and part of my retirement plan was to borrow a motorbike and dress fully in leather and take a picture. I don't know why that was important, but what I was gonna do something completely out of character. But about 3 years before 60, I started feeling an uneasiness, an unsettledness, and I have now learned in my life that uneasiness and unsettledness means that your season is coming to an end. So a lot of people would ask me, when I finally said to my board and to the place I worked, that I want to leave in the next 3 months, and I'll give you 3 months. I had a succession plan, so I didn't feel like I was living like a hole or a gap. But what I knew was it was time. And every other day, I knew it was time, it was time. I honestly didn't understand what it was time for.
Right.
But I do know that the 3 months that I now knew that I was leaving, I had a myriad of emotions, a myriad of, oh my gosh, this is what I'm doing. And people looked at me and thought, oh, you had everything together, you were sorted. I'm like, no, I was not together, I wasn't sorted, but I knew that it was time. And it was time because there was so much I needed to do, and I was not going to do it in the space that I was in. Waki's space was morphing, evolving. And if I didn't evolve with Waki's space, then Waki's space would just be a space, and I would just be a body doing what everyone expected me and needed me to do. And that's why I took it. 2 years to time.
Did you go see your therapist about it?
Without a doubt, I had to have the conversation. Because then again, I needed someone to tell me I'm not mad, number one. And I needed to be able to process what I was feeling.
Yes.
And the thing is that I'm now learning is that I started looking for, you unconsciously start looking for people who have gone ahead of you, people who had retired, and people who had chosen to transition. And I realize now that retirement is it's not a death sentence. It's actually, and one of my friends, Cosma, said, retiring, he spells it different. He spells it, instead of the way you spell retirement, he spells it R-E dash and then T-Y-R-E, as in retiring. You're just changing the wheels of the vehicle of your life. And you see, I realized if I'm changing the wheels of the vehicle of Waki's space, I'm changing it to a huger, a more intense machine.
Yes.
And therefore, transition meant that I needed to be ready, even in my spirit, in my mind. So having the conversation was to ask me the questions of, do you feel ready? I remember people asking me, so are you ready? And I say, no.
No.
And they'll be like, oh, taken aback, like, what do you mean you're not ready? Because I didn't know what ready meant. But I knew that I was being obedient. I knew that this is what I needed to do. And then, of course, as I shared with you, the gaps that I began to see in people who had gone ahead of me is what now started to scare me. And I realized if I don't define this thing for myself in these 3 months, 4 months, then I will end up a very unhappy person. And my greatest fear is to wake up one morning and not have anything to do or anything to give. And I'm still here. But the truth be told, every person who can hear, who wakes up in the body has something to give.
Yes.
You need to be in the environment to be able to give it. If you're a crocodile, you best operate in water.
Yes.
Why are you trying to climb a mountaintop? Understand your environment for your season.
Yeah.
Therein you will thrive.
I want us to play that video. You shared it with me. I know you didn't expect it, but we'll have to share it on your last day at work.
Yeah.
Be happy wherever you go. Be happy in your family. Hayo sasa ni kufurahisha wewe.
Kila ninapofanya kazi kwa uwezo wangu nisiwezi, ingawa nimejitahidi kusonga mbele, kusonga, lakini nisibabaiki, kwani wewe unami. Mamlaka yote duniani ni yako, hakuna jambo usiloliweza. Kwa nguvu zako Baba tumeshinda. Imani yangu ipo kwako wewe Bwana, nami nitajificha chini yako wewe mwamba. Wewe waweza Bwana, wewe waweza Bwana, wewe waweza.
What was that last day like?
First of all, my daughter, Wams came to pick me up from the office with her friends, and I didn't expect them to.
Yeah.
And why I keep saying, these are our children, their intellect and their wisdom.
Yes.
That last day, I remember, was all emotions, because, well, let me say the last week. First of all, the staff had a surprise party for me, and, you know, I'm a person who, you can't surprise me. You can't. But this one, 10-0.
Yeah.
And I remember walking into the room, and it was full of staff. And as soon as I realized what was happening, I just turned around and started walking away. Our head of security came running after me, and then he's saying, I want to check her heart. I want to be sure she's okay. Then I came in. I'd never, you know, I'm a corporate person. You wouldn't see my tears in a boardroom, in a meeting room. But that day, the tears just flowed. And what was happening is, 20 years I had been in this institution, and suddenly there was a whole group of people, and they were saying all the things that I had meant to them. Somebody reminded me of something I had done 19 years before. I'm like, I couldn't even remember.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Most of their memories were not the legal documents I had drawn up.
No.
They weren't the times that I had changed the institution's constitutive documents and updated them. Those weren't the things they remembered.
No.
It was the times that I had gone to a graduation. It was the times I had gone to see a baby who had been born. It was the times when somebody was feeling broken and they walked into my office and they left with, okay, I used to keep candy in my office. You know, the older you get, you're braver with what you do in your office, so I used to keep candy and things like that. But the things that they remembered was the touch point, the connection points. And I realized none of them came and told me the reason why I celebrate you is because of your title. None of them said that.
No.
None of them, everyone remembered a connection. And it doesn't matter where we are, there's a human connection.
Yes.
And woe to us if we become so tied into what we do, we forget who we are. Who I am and what I do is completely different. And they were talking about who I was. And so getting to that point of the last day at work, I realized, and my daughter, when I was walking out, my daughter says, Mom, I need you to turn around and look at the title on your door. And I need you to know that there's closure. And then she joked and said, yeah, there's closure for you because we get our mom back, you know.
Oh.
And I realized when I looked at that title, that this title had defined me for 20 years, and I'm proud that it defined me.
Yes.
I'm proud of the opportunity.
Yes.
I'm proud of what I was able to do with the title.
Yes.
But I was leaving the title behind, and somebody else was going to pick it up. It's like a relay. And I remember telling my successor that I'm handing you a baton. It's an imperfect baton. I'm giving it to you to continue to perfect. Because if we ever think that we have left an institution or we're transitioning out of a season and we have left it in perfection, then we lie. Because we're imperfect ourselves. But you're empowering somebody else to continue to perfect it. So my last day it was all mixed emotions. It was, wow, I'm leaving this behind. And then there was that fear somewhere in my spirit of, so when I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm not an employee. And you know the things that no one tells you, you know, the things you don't tell people you think about that,
Yeah.
tomorrow I will no longer be on the website. I'm like, hiya, I'm not on the website. Tomorrow, you know, at the end of today, I'm no longer on the bank system.
No.
You know, I can't log into the system
No.
because that season has shifted.
Yes.
But guess what? I'm on another website somewhere else. Guess what? I'm logging into different systems.
Yes.
So being able to understand that closing a season is so important. Closing it strong, closing it well, closing it beautifully. So that when you enter the other season, you're not carrying baggage and, oh, I'm carrying draggy people, I'm carrying whatever. Was everything perfect? No. Did I have times in the institution where I thought, I have not been, this is not happy, I'm not happy with this.
Yeah.
But those are a sum total of the greatness of being able to do 2 decades. So what did it feel like? It was closure, yet it was sitting and saying, thank you that I had that opportunity. Nothing can take that opportunity away from.
Yes. And so you woke up the following morning and said, wow, I'm a retiree.
Yeah. And when in my 20s, when somebody said they were retiree, I was like, hey, okay, that's the end of the road for you. That's what we thought. And then suddenly, I had so much energy. I had so much I wanted to do. And then I started, now, I was talking to everyone who had retired, and I'm like, then I discovered how there was a time when people were retiring, then they start fish farming, there was quail farming. And I thought that then others go to farm. And I began to say, okay, Waki, you're none of those things.
Yeah.
I mean, a plant in my house will die. And my friends came together and gave me a plant which are supposed to now survive in, I don't know which arid areas. They had a whole story about this plant, that it survives in very difficult conditions. They brought it to my house.
Yeah.
It still died. So I asked myself, so you, if you're killing plants in your house,
Right.
you can't farm.
You can't farm.
You can't do this.
No.
And I kept thinking, so what's going to happen? What am I going to spend my days? And I realized the answer was right there at my fingertips. I had been doing it.
What?
I just shifted the season. You're going to continue flying kites. You're going to continue coaching. But then again, you're going to address all these emotions. 2 months, the first month, all the emotions I had coming to my new season, how come there was nobody who could touch those emotions for me and tell me that you're feeling this because of this, you know? And then I would look at people who I know are brilliant minds, but they felt like they had to slow down. And so their story was, now I wake up, I go for walks, you know, I wait for my grandchildren to be born, I do this, and I'm like, and what else? Well, that's it, because now I'm retired. And I thought, no, there's a gap. Why aren't we addressing the great minds that are over 60 in this nation? I first thought about it, I thought it was only my nation. Then I started researching and realized that in the developed world, they're beginning to realize that they have so much resources in people who are retired. And are we creating a platform, a niche for these people to continue to grow, to continue to learn? There's a thing of when you're an older person and you walk into a class. I went to be certified as a coach. Later in life, when I knew that I'm planning my transition. And I remember walking to that class and thinking, these are all young people in this class. My mentor coach at the time was the late, and you know, God rest him soul in power, Michael Oye. He was my mentor coach in the coaching space. And I remember saying to him, Michael, I feel so intimidated. In his cool, calm way, he turned to me and he said, you do know that they probably are intimidated by you. And I thought, And that was it. That was all I needed to hear, that I'm still relevant. So where are the spaces where these older people who are transitioning from employment, transitioning from certain, where are the spaces where they're still feeling valued? They're still feeling relevant? Where are the spaces where we can create a pool of resource, of wealth and knowledge as consultants, as senior people, where they're coming to give back to what's already existing? And I kept saying, maybe God, this was a setup to leave 2 years early so that you be the first. Since you're feeling it, that there's so much wisdom out there. These days, I sit down with people my age and older than me and listen to them, and I'm thinking, either you put this in a book, or you get out there, go back to school, get yourself accredited, get your papers, and begin to teach it.
Because there's so much value in them still.
There's so much value. And we are killing resources before their time to die. When I am 80, if I'm still alive,
you will be.
I will still be speaking and eating carrot cake. Because at the end of the day, that's the person I am.
Yeah.
The same way I was encouraging people within the workforce.
Yes.
You know, one of the staff one day joked, you know, I worked with such amazing young people. So whenever I would sign off letters, I would sign CS, which is really company secretary.
Okay.
And they told me CS means something different for them. I said, what does it mean for you? They told me it's company shrink. When we have issues, we come to your office, you know. And I realized that I was doing it. That wasn't on my scorecard, but that's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
Or I'd walk into a meeting, and after the meeting, I can tell one person there was very off. And I'm the person who can be in your face, maybe as I've grown older. What's going on with you? You know, I could tell you weren't there.
Yeah.
Did that thing leave me when I left the workforce? It didn't. Now I have the opportunity to do it wherever I need to do it. I am the person who I will get to a till in a supermarket. And the person is looking like they're, you know, that I'll say something like, I really, 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 really like your hairstyle. And the person will break into a smile.
Oh.
And maybe that was the only compliment they got that day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then I'll say something like, you know, whatever it is, you know, you got this, you know.
Yeah.
And do you know that the value that you're giving to all of us who walk past here, nobody can even quantify it in a pay slip, which is the truth. By the time I leave there, you know how you look from the side and you see the person is so happy there.
Yeah.
I didn't give you a motor vehicle.
Yeah.
I didn't even give you a raise, but I left you with something. And this is what I want the people my age and older to be able to begin to understand, that there's something you have. And do not let your age, do not let your transition be the thing that is slowing you down, because let me tell you, God will hold us to account. In your 60s, you had so much to give. What did you do with it? There was no platform. Create it.
Uh-huh. Which you have.
Which is now what I
Tell us about it.
I am now, well, so I once wrote, I said to myself, you know, I'll tell you what it's called. The real retirees of substance. And the word retirement is the way we spelt it earlier. The reason why it's of substance is because they steal so much.
Yes, yes.
Substance is a thing that is tangible. These older people have things that are tangible. And I want to be able to create a platform where every person begins to understand what that substance looks like. I know what mine looks like,
Yes.
but I can't tell you what yours looks like.
Yes.
But I want to be able to give you the environment to make it look like what it's supposed to look like for you. So that when you get up in the morning and say, my substance is not Waki's,
Yeah.
but my substance is this.
Yes.
My substance is to go back into the universities and have talks with the lecturers. My substance is to go into farming and with the knowledge that I now have, go and
Yes.
empower the farmers in my county.
Yes.
My substance is to go back and mentor the youth, the management or whatever in different organizations. My substance is to go back into companies and help them to understand what governance looks like.
Yes.
My substance is to go to women and tell them, ladies, you've got this as concerns your weight, as concerns your mental health,
Yes.
your emotional stability. My substance is to be able to go to my children's generation and say, learn from my mistakes as well and be honest with those mistakes. I love my kids because my kids have watched me go through the bottom and the top. And once, both of my children have told me in different environments that, Mom, you're the strongest woman I know. These are people who have seen you at your worst and at your
Yes.
best. But because at the end of the day, there's a level where we are supposed to be vulnerable enough for people to see that you can hit the ground and you can get up.
Rise up again.
I'm always afraid of a person who always who says, I've never hit the ground.
Yeah.
I've been on a high,
Yeah.
In fact, I fear you because I'm like, maybe you hit the ground and you are unaware. And maybe there are a lot of people who are injured on that ground, but you're unaware.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to know your story, that it didn't end there when you hit the ground. It didn't end there. And whenever I meet a person who tells me I am on the ground, I'm like, okay, so what's the journey to get up? Because it's not, you're not resident for the ground.
No.
So what's the journey to get up?
Yes. So those watching, I may know someone who is either approaching retirement or has retired. It doesn't matter whether you retired yesterday or you're retiring in a week or two from now, and they want to be a part of this initiative because it's a first of its kind in this country. So you're a pioneer in that regard. Congratulations. So those watch, and there are many, including my own parents, you know. They've retired, and like you said, people feel, okay, I have a piece of land somewhere, let me go, you know, build. So you move from the city because everyone else does the same. But now you're saying, no, we still have a lot to give. We just all need to discover what that is. And you want to help people, you know, just, you know, help fly their kites, you know. I like how I combine that. So how can they get in touch with you so that they can be a part of the real retirees of substance?
Yes. I'm going to give you a number.
Yeah, sure.
This is the number that anyone can call and they'll get details.
So look into this camera.
I call it the Waki Space number. Your number is 0740 828 889. Now, on the other side of that number will be somebody who will tell you anything you need to know about Waki Space and this transition. And then, exciting, God willing, on the 29th of June, I'm looking forward to bringing together a number of the retirees, the real of substance, on the 29th of June. And the theme for that morning will be branded for transition.
Wow.
I'm really big on personal branding.
Wow.
And I realize that for every season in our lives, we must brand ourselves.
Yes.
And if you're in transition, brand yourself for that transition. So you're relevant not just for yourself, but for those who are in your environment.
Yes, 29th of June.
Yes.
So we are saying goodbye, but Waki, by the way, you never meet Waki and she has no gift for you. All the time. You need this girl to be your friend. So she brought me these 2 books. I've always known she's authored books, but I've never, for some reason, owned them. So I have them today. A Fallen Ring, which is your story here.
A story of healing.
Story of healing. So the dark seasons you heard us speak about, this book has a couple of that. And then Pieces of Whole. I really like this title. So, and this is about?
Pieces of Whole is a story of 6 different women who've gone through 6 different kinds of challenges. And what this book meant for me was I was dealing with challenges not of people my age, younger women, mid-level women,
Right.
women across the board.
Yes.
But all of them were brought together by one thing, tumaini, hope. And understanding the places of hope in our lives. Pieces of Whole means that in our lives there will be pieces all together. But at some point, they're coming together as a whole.
Yes.
So never feel like
Yes.
you're just a piece.
Yes.
You're pieces, but they come together as whole. And so this I will be launching soon.
Yeah, this is the latest.
That's the latest.
Pieces of Whole.
They're actually both published.
Okay.
I've never launched them because I never was able to do it until I transitioned.
When are you launching them?
So this is immediately I finish in June.
Yes.
I'm looking to launch them in July.
Thank you for my gifts this day. Thank you. And to you watching, thank you. Watch this again. It's up on YouTube right after this, and it repeats next Sunday at 2 p.m. And the number you need to call if you know a retiree or you're one, or you're looking to retire, or you're already retired and you're just looking for a community, a hub of these people who will understand what you've been going through. Then call this number and just see where that takes you. From the crew here on What's Your Story, the cake lovers, the millennials, the chapati lovers, and the rest who I do not have labels for. Have yourselves a good night.
Get ready for a sizzling Sunday at Holiday Inn Nairobi 2 Rivers Mall. Join us every last Sunday of the month for a spectacular Sunday barbecue. Delight in our mouth-watering Choma brunch, accompanied by live music and exciting kids' activities, including puppet shows and bouncing castles. All this for just 4,000 Kenya shillings per person. Kids under 6 eat free, and ages 6 to 12 get 50% off. Make your reservations now. Call 0709 264 000 or email reservations@holidayinnairobi.com.